About on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
Well, you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, as always, joined by Joe Restinello. And once more, dear brothers and sisters, let us go into the breach. So thank you for joining us here. Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time. We go live unless something happens and we can't, but generally speaking, we're going to be here. Joe, Joe, I got to tell you, I got to stop. You know what I love about that clip more than anything else? There's a lot to love about that clip. Is Joe Rogan's Robert De Niro impersonation as he reacts when he goes, oh! That is one of the funniest things I ever saw. See, I don't care. You love or hate Alex Jones. I don't really care. You see, Alex Jones is a little bit too smart. Like that guy thought he had him, and he goes, yeah, kind of like Jeffrey Epstein and the Clintons. I love it. That is a fantastic clip. But Joe, listen, not for nothing. There's more things going on. And we got to obviously get serious and talk about, we try on this show to talk about things that are wide ranging, right? Tonight, we're going to actually go across the globe, by the way. So everybody knows we're going to do a little atrocity up in Canada. Then we're going to pivot. We're going to talk about a little atrocity we're going on with Elon Musk down in Australia, mate. All right. And then we're going to pivot to the United States, where who the hell knows who's leading the United States right now? I say it's Barack Obama. We have video proof that it's Barack Obama, because the guy who says he's running it, I don't know if he's capable. So here's the thing, Joe, and I know that you are on top of a lot of things Canadian, okay? And you spearheaded that with the front line with Joe and Joe, as far as, staying on top of everything going on up there. So I came across this. This was in the Calgary Herald, all right? So you have Danielle Smith, and she's standing by her pick of a contrarian chair to lead a COVID-19 data review, all right? Rather than me talk about it, I'm going to throw it over to you, because does it strike me that that's altogether controversial? Not so in Canada.
Well, as Joe said, we have a lot of fans in Alberta. A lot of folks watch the show, so we wanted to give you this news. The doctor's name is Gary Davidson. So Danielle Smith thinks it's a good idea to put this physician up. He's been accused of exaggerating COVID-19 impacts on hospitals. So she wants him to lead a review of a pandemic era health data project. So she basically says, and frankly, I think she's spot on. She wants people with a wide range of views on this panel, not just one set of views. Of course, the opposition, Rachel Nolte, says that these are fringe views and we're wasting taxpayer dollars. And I would disagree. Ultimately, why should you just stick with the narrative? Listen, there's been so many controversial things said, many of which have been contradicted and proven false. Like, if you take the shot, it's a silver bullet. You're not going to get COVID. That's not true.
Remind me to comment on that, but go ahead.
But that's not true. There's been a lot of different doctors. There's been a lot of side effects as a result of the shot. They didn't tell people. Now, I don't want people to get like the wrong idea. In America, I don't know how many people died in Canada. 1.2 million people died in America. 111 million people got COVID. So less than 1% died. Many of them had issues. Many of them were old, but people died. So I'm not trying to trivialize the situation, but I will say this, and I had 2 children during COVID in a hospital. I talked to people in the hospital. This is what they told me. They said the people who are in this hospital who have COVID, many of them don't have the shot. More don't have it than have it. And those who have it didn't get it as bad. That's what was told to me by a nurse. She had no political affiliations. There was no political conversation. So I'm just relaying that to you. So I'm not a person that says, listen, the shot had no efficacious effects. That's not what the nurse told me. I had 2 kids in the hospital. Now, again, that's just one person. Right. What I am saying is this: there were side effects. It wasn't a silver bullet. They didn't tell us the truth. And here's a doctor who's basically questioning some of those data points, and they don't want him on
Well,
the panel.
You can't do that. You can't do that. And welcome everybody to the front line with Joe and Joe. We're discussing, at least at the moment, we're going around the world today. Canada, Australia, and the United States. We're starting in Canada. But at least Danielle Smith is saying, see, this is what, Joe, I promised you I wasn't going to get too angry on this show, but this is one of the things that gets me angry. She's saying, I want a wide range of perspectives. The other side saying, nah, that's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Why? Because you want to shut down any dissent? You want to shut down any opposing view to your view? She's saying flat out, I want to hear from everybody. You know who's, I watched something recently. Now, and I've been saying on this show for a long time now that Neil deGrasse Tyson is a hack. He calls himself a scientist. He is a political and cultural hack, an anti-Catholic, anti-Christian bigot. Number one. Number two, he's a hack. I watched him recently. I was watching a clip. I know the clip was from a while ago. He was on with Patrick Bet-David on Valuetainment, right? And Bet-David is going back at him over the whole COVID thing. Now, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, Bet-David brought up to Neil deGrasse Tyson what you just said about, the vaccine obviously did not prevent people from getting COVID. Here's deGrasse Tyson. That's because the virus mutated. You don't have any scientific proof of that. And there's plenty of people like this gentleman in Canada who's going to sit on that board, and many people around the world say, you have no scientific proof of that. You're just saying it as you make sure everybody knows that you are a scientist, as you enlist the government and social media and the mainstream media to shut down everything else. And guess what? If you do all those things, everything you say is plausible. But in the meantime, Joe, they lied. And I'll say it one more time. I'm not as generous as Danielle Smith. If I was the premier of Canada, I would take all the liars and throw them out of the room. She's at the very least saying, okay, we're going to have a wide range of views on this. And this doctor, Mr. Davidson, he's going to be on that panel. And we're going to get everybody's perspective. And they can't even take that either. Joe, now you know why the vein pops out of my head.
Well, you know what it is, Joe? Because they use the crisis. They use the crisis to steal power from the regular person. People have to get that through their head. In America, it was the largest transition of capital, cash, in the history of the country. Right. They use the crisis to take power from Americans. I can't speak for Canada, but they also if you ask me, they went past the boundary, and your judicial system said so when it came to the truckers. And what did Trudeau say? Trudeau just gets on the podium and said, well, I know that the courts basically said we kind of overstepped our boundaries, but at the time, it felt like the right thing to do. Did he reimburse people any money? No. Did he destroy truckers' lives? Did he hurt them? Of course he did. He didn't get nothing.
Because the whole it was an exercise in government power. That's all it was. It was just an exercise. He was telling the truckers and any other Canadian, by the way.
Absolutely. And he had no skin in the game. You did. And again, it was an overreach. In America, they changed how we vote. We no longer go to the ballot box. I mean, go to the town hall. Everything's through the mail. Why? Ballot harvesting is legal. Drop boxes are legal. These are studies have been done, bipartisan studies that have said that they can be subject to fraud. Barack Obama said that.
Right.
Barack Obama said that. Jimmy Carter said that. Jim Baker said that. Yet now this is the way it goes. Right. They stole your money, and now they stole your power. And here's Danielle Smith in Alberta trying to get a fair voice on a panel to basically leverage, if you ask me, the voice of the people, and she's getting shout down. It's a
Joe, hold that thought. Real quick, Joe, hold that thought.
4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. Pause.
That's our president.
That's our president. Don't worry, we're going to play that clip in a little while again when we pivot back to the United States. That's the guy that they want to convince you that sat in his basement, didn't campaign, didn't get out there, that guy got 80 million votes. Listen, I was born at night. I wasn't born last night. Okay. That's the bottom line. You could say that we're all conspiracy theorists all you want. That guy did not get elected. First of all, he couldn't get elected even if he did go out and campaign because Joe, I'm sorry, Joe, I know you get mad at me. He's a moron. He always has been, by the way. He always has been dim-witted. Okay. He makes no sense whatsoever. They asked Clarence, they played a clip of him one time with Clarence Thomas at the hearing back in the 90s, right? And the reporter asked Clarence Thomas, so what did you make of that? And Clarence Thomas goes, oh, who knows? He goes, who knows? Like basically saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyway, let's stay on Canada. We're not coming back to America yet. We got a good crowd here, Joe. 95 people watching. You know what, Joe? For some of the people that just showed up, I have to give them a treat.
You've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
I love it. I can't help myself. But now here's the thing, though. You know, the prosecutor, he was being real smug, and he thought he had him backed into a court. And then you see the shot of the prosecutor. So look, Danielle Smith is right. Danielle Smith, like I said, she's a lot more conciliatory than I am because I would have thrown all the liars out of the room. However, you know, it goes to show you what it's all about. She's willing to have a panel of diverse views, and they don't want diverse views. Now, speaking of which, let's stay with Canada, okay? Now, Joe, just here, I'll play the clip. All you good people out there, just make comment in the chat box and let us know what you think of this guy. This is Canada.
Require plastic producers to take more responsibility for the plastic they put on the market. Every year, from now on, they must declare the quantity and types of plastic they supply, how these plastics move through the economy, and how they are managed at the end of their life.
Did you real quick, and I know you have a lot to say. Did you catch that about how it moves? The plastic bottle, Joe. It moves. It's got legs. Okay, it moves through the economy. Okay, and then we have to figure out what to do at the end of its life. So basically, Trudeau is proposing a national plastic registry. Joe, please take it from me.
Well,
Joe.
let me ask you this, Canadians. How can that not be insulting when you can't buy food? He's worried about plastic. You're worrying about heating your house, feeding your family, clothing your kids, and you can't. Inflation's off the charts. This guy's wearing a pink jacket, and he's talking about plastic. How out of touch is he? Or how in touch is he? He is in touch with a globalist ideology, which is against the regular man. I bang on this drum constantly because it's the truth. He's concerned about plastic. You're concerned about food. You can't eat. He wants to worry about plastic. He wants to set up a plastic registry. That should tell you everything you need to know. Everything you need to know boils down to that, which tells me this. He can afford food. He can afford fuel. He can afford clothes, and you can't. He can afford to worry about plastic, and frankly, you could care less about plastic.
What happens? Let me ask you a question.
Everything.
What happens when that plastic comes to the end of his or her own life? Can we call a plastic bottle a his or her? I guess nowadays we could call anybody or anything anybody, and anybody anything. That's the way. That's the way this bizarro world seems to work. What are we supposed to do with this plastic bottle? We have cases and cases of water here because I live in the desert. Okay, you're in constant need of water. All right, so like I get the feeling like the guy in the pink jacket, Joe. If he was where I am in Arizona, he might want to like maybe he's going to send the Gestapo to knock down my door and make me account for all the plastic bottles that have gone in the recycle bin. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. Or I do.
You know something, Joe? I'll be truthful with you. This is where people have to shut off the news, stop listening to the podiums, and look in your refrigerator. That's all you need to know.
Joe, I just filled up my tank. Before we did the show, I just filled up my tank, okay? I paid $4.20 a gallon for gas. Now, you could say what you want, and I got a lot of beefs with Donald Trump. All I know is this, that when Biden got into office, I was paying $2 a gallon. And for a working person, you can forget about milk and vegetables and bread and some meat. And I'm not even talking about steak. I'm talking about just grabbing some chicken. Okay. Or, like when we were growing up, my mother must have made chicken 5 days a week because it was the most affordable, particularly the bone-in variety. But my point is that they tell us all the time that we can't believe our lying eyes. But then, like you said, but I could open the fridge and I can open my wallet and I can say, I can't afford what I need to put in the fridge. And it's because of you and your stupid plastic registry.
People have to get through their head, no matter what political affiliation you think you are, you cannot afford to vote for any politician, that embraces a globalist economic model. You can't afford to support him. And by the way, he does not support you. And all you need to do is look at your checkbook and look at your refrigerator and look at your food bill. Turn off the news, turn off the voices, because it's all lies and it's all propaganda, because they are pushing an ideology that is anti-regular man, that is in Canada and that is in America.
But in Canada, let's remember something, Joe. What happened when those everyman, that's, the working man, all right, and women, all right, women drive trucks, when they say, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do anything violent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage my fellow truckers to get in our trucks. We're driving to Ottawa. We're going to drive to Ottawa, all right, and that's going to be our protest. Yeah, we're going to block some roads. They don't care when the environmentalists do it. The same people that would shut down those truckers like Justin Trudeau, he called them racist, he called them fascist, he called them Nazis, called them every name in the book. Then they say that people like him and Biden and others are not at war with their own people. Okay, call them all sorts of names. All they did, as far as I'm concerned, that was a brilliant protest move. That trucker convoy, Joe, brilliant. Okay, drive across and block the roads. All right, and you'll get some attention. They had plants there putting Confederate flags on their trucks and then having the press take pictures, all that stuff. That's what's going on. And if you raise your head up, I got family in Canada, all right? I'm sure they're not going for a lot of they're working people, okay? I'm sure they're not going for all this. If you want to get together on social media, let's say as Canadians, form a group to maybe get some followers, maybe get a few thousand followers, maybe get a couple million followers, and tell Justin Trudeau to take his national plastic registry and shove it up his you-know-what, okay? And actually say that, well, then what do, Joe? They want to shut you down. They want to shut you down. That's what it is.
Well, when the lie loses power, you have to censor, Joe. And you got to get rid of that pink jacket. That's number two. You don't wear a pink jacket. And when the lie loses power, you got to censor. Ultimately, like I said, I'm going to beat the drum again. Any globalist agenda, particularly economic model, anywhere in the West, whether it's Australia, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in anywhere, America, Europe, the regular man gets crushed. Joe Pasillo just said it cost him $4 and change to fill up his tank per gallon. In California, it's $7. In Canada, it's more.
Right.
I have 7 mouths to feed in my house, 5 children, 2 adults. My food bill is well over $300 a week. That's $1,300 a month for food.
And when that goes up just 10%, it hurts.
And Joe,
it hurts anybody.
And I don't have a refrigerator packed to the gills with food. I have food.
You have food, but you're not even talking about like the luxuries. Like I'm sure you're not going out and buying a pound of prosciutto di Parma for $40 a pound.
Crazy. I mean, we don't buy steak. We don't buy anything like that. We buy chopped meat when I make my meatballs from my gravy on Sunday.
Well,
chicken, pork chop.
But as far as that prosciutto di Parma is concerned, I blame.
4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years.
Did you hear the embarrassment? Did you hear the embarrassment on the part of the crowd? It was almost palpable. You could feel it. They know he's number one. He's 4 more years. As soon as the P and pause comes out of his mouth, the guy behind them's looking like, holy crap, what's he gonna do? And the rest of 4 more years. Yeah, but listen, that guy And again, it's not him. We all know it's Barack Obama. Barack Obama's circle of friends. Hey, you know who Barack Obama's circle of friends are? Well, we won't get into conspiracy theory. We'll play the Alex Jones clip again a little later on, just to make you all laugh. But here's the thing: you voice these things, and I believe, I know that Al Gore claims to have created the internet. God created the internet, okay? Because God would like for us to communicate, particularly if we're communicating good and godly ideas, okay? That's why we always try to stay, we don't get too hyperbolic at the front line with Joe and Joe. We try not to call anybody names. I know I called Joe Biden a dimwit. I apologize, okay? But we try to get to the truth of things. But in trying to get to the truth of things, okay, you need a platform, okay? You need to be able to speak to other people, all right? Like-minded people, because that's what a free marketplace of ideas is all about. And then you get an encouraging sign in all of it. Elon Musk, a multi-billionaire, I guess when his stock was higher, was the richest man in the world. He's still, don't worry, he's still doing really, really well, even though Tesla's taken a shave lately, all right? And he goes and he buys Twitter. And he changes Twitter's name to X, okay? Because he's encouraging people to join X so that they can be on a true free speech platform. And Joe, here's what I mean. If you're for free speech, that means if you say something I don't like, I have no authority to shut you down. I can argue with you, I could debate you, or I could challenge you, but I have no right, no authority at all, whether a government or individual, to shut you down. Not so in Australia.
Musk is on, it says that that's okay to continue to air that is absolutely disgusting behaviour. And quite frankly, the bloke should be jailed. And the sooner that we can bring rules in or do something about this sort of game playing with our social media, the better off we're going to be. But quite frankly, the power that man has, because of that platform that he's on, it's got to stop. It has
Now, remember what Joe, we're pretty good. We're a couple Italian guys, regular guys from North Jersey, okay? When she said the type of power that he has, remember something. That woman is a senator in Australia. That was, aside from everything else I want you to comment on, that was pure envy on her part, because that's her and all of her minions, like Joe Biden, goes like this. That's all of them. They look at Elon Musk. Their first and foremost impulse, Joe Resinello, first and foremost, is envy. They hate him because he bought Twitter, because he could buy Twitter, because he had $54 billion that he could sell Tesla stock and go and buy Twitter, and now calls it X. And you want to know what this woman doesn't like? If you have a different view of the Middle East, you can't. We have to shut you down. If you have a different view of Black Lives Matter, we have to shut you down. If you have a different view on abortion and you're pro-life, we have to shut you down. That's what her beef is with Elon Musk. Joe, I got to throw it over to you because she wants to throw him in jail.
Well, let's give a little background. This is the senator who wanted to jail Australians that didn't get the vax. This is just to give you some background. What she's talking about is, we all have probably seen on Twitter, there was a Christian, like he's like an Eastern Orthodox priest. I don't even know what denomination. He was stabbed. So Elon Musk played that on Twitter, and she doesn't want that up. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they hate Christians. And that video shows a Muslim attacking a Christian, and that gives sympathy across the world to Christians, and they can't have that.
Right.
Because they absolutely despise any form of Christianity, and that was an innocent man being stabbed, and that's why she's upset.
Right.
Let's take it another step. She has to control the narrative, because I'm going to say it again. When the lie loses its power, the powerful have to censor. And Elon Musk created a platform where regular people could hear news. Yes, it's news. And don't let them call it anything that it's anti-democracy, hate speech, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying about it is news. And I applaud you for saying that, because it is. How about this? How about it's just people talking like they're in a town square? It doesn't have to be news. If I want to have a conversation with somebody, whether it's electronically or in the town square, Like in Italy, they used to do it in the piazza over with an espresso and a cigarette. Okay. If it's a town square, it's a town hall. I could go there and talk. Go, Joe, go.
No, but forget the media, the people. Checkbook you everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
When you're what's something else that your kid comes back, literally see pornography. Some is heterosexual, some of which is homosexual. Pornography.
Right.
Young children. That's something you also need to know. And if you support that, you don't support the regular man, because the regular man is not for that. And by the way, the politicians don't support the regular man because they're controlled through ESG, they're controlled through donations, and they don't care what you want. They don't care. Get it through your head. They don't represent the regular man because the policies don't mirror your belief system. And I'm not just talking about Catholics, Jews, or evangelicals. I'm also talking about indifferent Americans, indifferent Canadians who just want to work. They want to eat. They want to put gas in their car. And they don't want their kid who's 9 looking at someone having oral sex in a book, in a cartoon. Sorry, regular people are not interested in that.
Right.
They simply aren't. But the politicians don't care because they know better than you, because the people who are pulling their strings, who give them money, and that's who they listen to. They don't
Right.
listen to you. And it's about time people figure that out. It's about time people figure that out.
Listen, I had a conversation with a friend of mine today. If you're just joining us here, we got a great crowd here at the front line with Joe and Joe. We really appreciate your support. We're growing every week. You can see us on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube, of course, till they take us down. Really trying to build up X. Wherever you're watching this, help us out. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. The bottom line is, if you have the audacity to go up in front of a school board, okay, and voice your opinion, you're put on a national, you're put on the FBI terrorist watch list, because Merrick Garland does that. But my friend of mine I had lunch with today, he made a good point. There was a priest recently here in our area that went into a public, he was in a public space. It might have actually been at the State House, and he was given a benediction before the vote in Arizona that basically repealed the 1864 ban on abortion. Okay. So now that that's been repealed, that's probably, again, there's a lot of machinations going on with that. That priest got censured. But now we're Catholic. I'm not going to bash other Catholics, but you want to know what? He got censured for simply giving a benediction. Okay. Because they're worried that the Democrats are going to pull their billions of dollars that they get. I'm talking about the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, and they're censoring a good priest who very simply wanted to pray over a proceeding. And again, so you got the government, they're our enemy. And I'm sorry, many, not all, of course, but many in the hierarchy of the church, Joe, they don't give a shit about us either.
And what it is, Joe, the government does not represent the regular man. We live in an oligarchy. It's simple. It's really simple. And I'll be honest with you. I personally think this particular election system, since we're talking about America, more people are going to see that because they're not going to allow Donald Trump to be the president. They're going to pull so many shenanigans. They already have. They're trying to take away his Secret Service. He'll be killed, and that's the idea.
Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, and a few others just got indicted by the Attorney General of the state of Arizona. She did a clip And she's saying, after extensive review, our democracy needs to be protected. And she's bragging about this dozen indictments that she's sending out. Giuliani's probably sitting there in New York going, okay, whatever, lady. But my larger point is this: because they questioned an election, because they questioned the results, it's now it's not just a matter of shouting them down in the public square. Now they need to be arrested and thrown in jail like this lady Jackie Lamb in Australia wants to do to Elon Musk.
Joe, what people don't, it's dangerous. And when they say it's a threat to democracy, they're the threat to democracy. You see, it's not about Donald Trump anymore. It's not about Elon Musk. And people have to wake up. You see, for me, it's not about Donald Trump. It's about saving the country. It's also about saving the regular man. Yeah. Because I got news for you. Look at history. When countries become full-on oligarchies, the regular man gets crushed. He gets crushed. He has no teeth in his head by the time he's 60, if he's even alive, because he doesn't have medical care.
Joe, you know what the Soviet regime used to give the working man? In other words, one of the things you could always get in the Soviet Union, more than anything else, more than food, more than anything else, was vodka. Here's your bottle of vodka. Get one a day. Keep you stupefied. Do you think we do anything different? We sell people 15-minute cities, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You won't own anything. All you're going to do is rent. Okay. Here's your drugs. Here's your sex. Like handing them a bottle of vodka. And what do you do then? Now that they're stupefied, they're controlled. That's why when those people argue with me, I have to walk away, because I would say at least you could disagree with me if you had a brain cell. But if all you're worried about in life is waking up and getting laid and getting high, I got nothing to say to you. You're not a serious person to me. But you know who takes those people seriously, Joe? Those very same oligarchs, because they know that person votes and that person can be controlled. Well, and that's the truth.
That's absolutely the truth. And people have to see that they don't represent you. That is key, because I got news for you. If enough people see that, and that is going to require, frankly, coalitions to form to get your power back. And here's the deal: because the debate isn't real. It doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. There's no end to the debate. We don't have a democracy. We don't even have a government. All of it is a show. Nothing comes to an end. When's the last time they get rid of Roe v. Wade? Abortion's still here. Immigration. They've been arguing that for years. Since Bush. That's not going away. Nope. Then you have a guy in Oklahoma, some conservative. He starts talking about having the border open because they probably sold him some pork to put in the bill. Then you have Mike Johnson. Oh, he's so conservative, from Louisiana. He sold out because he
approved billions for Ukraine and Israel.
Point. People have to get it through. We just supported 3 wars, Joe. I just paid my taxes. My taxes just went right out the door and supported 3 wars.
How do you
Taiwan,
feel?
Israel, and Ukraine.
How do you feel that little homosexual Zelensky has your tax dollars in his pocket? Because look, if you don't like when I talk about that, Zelensky is an actor, everyone. Zelensky's an actor. AOC's an actress. Justin Trudeau's an actor. Would you all please get it through your head? They're not serious leaders. They're not politicians. They don't have any original thoughts. They're fed a line. They're fed a script. Zelensky's an actor. Go look online. And he's a little homosexual actor. And he's got Joe's tax money in his pocket. He's got my tax money too. Joe, you know what these people are? I'll show you. Here's the Prime Minister of Australia.
Nein, was alles soll ich von diesen Judenschweinen noch ertragen?
So that's Jackie. That's Jackie Lamb's. That's Jackie Lamb's cohort there in Australia. So it's and don't tell me that's not a perfect person to put his head on. In other words, that's right. Elon Musk. 99999. That's right. Not going to let him speak. I'm not going to let him speak against the regime. You're not going to let him speak against the culture. And you know what's funny? Elon Musk he would probably talk to us. Maybe he would agree with Joe Rogan 7 out of 10 times. He might agree with us 3 out of 10 times. But he would never try to take us down. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And you know what the sad part is? They want this guy to call the shots.
4 more years, Pause.
It's
Dude,
so
it's so
thoroughly,
embarrassing.
I was going to say, it's so thoroughly embarrassing. But you know what they won't shut down? You
Embarrassing.
tell me, Joe, I will never, ever, ever jeopardize this show in any way. And I certainly in my heart don't ever want to do anything violent. But I don't know what I do. Let me say it like this. I don't know what I do. I'm going to play you something for everybody out there joining us at the front line with Joe and Joe. I'm going to play you something. If this was my son, go ahead. I'm going to play it. So we didn't have any sound for that, but for those of you who missed it, okay, that was a guy. That was a guy dressed as a woman, okay, dressed as a woman, pretending to be a woman, dancing provocatively in front of a child. Now, I don't need to tell anybody out there listening to us at the front line with Joe and Joe. I don't need to tell you what would have happened to that guy 30 years ago, okay? But that's the guy that's protected by people like Jackie Lamb, people like Justin Trudeau, people like Joe Biden, people like Barack Obama. That person, their freedom of expression, their freedom of speech, their right to go into the public square, not only, Joe, extends to the public square, it extends to your child's classroom. You think about that, Joe Resinello. You think about that.
I think that's one of the unifying points for the regular man. The regular man is not for that. I'm going to tell you that right now. The apolitical regular man, if you take both extremes of the political ends, the far right and the far left, say you shave off 30% of the population, 15 and 15, and that's being generous. It might be less. It might be 10 and 10. Now you have, say, 75% of many people are indifferent politically. Many. I talk to them. That's kind of how I get this opinion. Like my neighbors, like when I'm outside doing the lawn or when I'm shoveling snow, they're indifferent. They're not a politically astute people. They're not news junkies. They work. They take care of their families. They pay their bills. They take care of their property. They love their wives. They love their children. They're not for that.
No.
You see, and here's another thing, what people have to figure out. That is being shoved down your throat. 75%, I'm willing to say, of the population in Canada and America is not for that.
More than 75.
I'm being generous, Joe.
I know.
I'm being very generous. Yet, it's legal in every state in America. Every single public school from Hawaii to Maine to the most conservative states, South Dakota, Alabama, North Dakota, Wyoming, all of it is being put in front of your kids. While 75% of America is against it. What does that tell you? They don't care what you think.
Right.
And here's another thing that should tell you. They don't need your consent.
Nope.
And this is why people have to have the scales fall from their eyes. I can list other things. How about third trimester abortion, which is infanticide? It's not
all
even
infanticide, but I know what you're saying.
No, but I'm going to just go. You can't even call that abortion. I have 5 kids. When you look at a sonogram with a child in the 7th month, it's a viable child. 8th month, it's a viable child. It could actually, it's completely alive. Has fingers. It has eyes, everything. That child could be murdered in America. Over 85% stated on The View is against that. By the way, that is legal in America because they don't need your consent, because your consent doesn't matter. Your voice doesn't matter because we don't live in a democracy. I can go on. Gasoline under Joe Biden has gone up probably close to 60%. It was well under $2 a gallon. It is well over $3 a gallon in the cheapest state to buy gas in New Jersey because it's processed in New Jersey. A lot of gas. It's the cheapest gas in the state, in the country. In California, it's $7 and change.
Right.
Over 75 to 80% of the country is against it. By the way, They put it through. By the way, your voice doesn't matter. By the way, I don't care that it doesn't matter. And this is what people have to get through their head, Joe.
Right.
I can't say it enough.
No, but
You're
you listen.
not represented.
But okay, but the thing is, you want people to get it through their head. We're arguing over men being in women's sports like it should even be a topic of conversation.
Say our thank yous first. Thank you to God for giving us the strength to do this. Thank you to Riley. She's been a huge inspiration and mentor through all of this. And thank you to Attorney General Morrissey for trying his best to save women's sports. About 2 years ago, the transgender movement started becoming more and more popular. I was never affected by this until last year. I started to think, this can't be right. All my teammates are working so hard to get beat by a boy. And don't get me wrong, we've had some great girls on our team that have beaten this boy. Now into this year, all of my teammates have seen how much he has improved since last year. This made me feel like I had to do something, not just for myself, but for girls everywhere. That's when I reached out to Riley. She almost immediately replied and asked, what can I do to help? Just the fact that she was on my side gave me enough courage to go and ask my friends if they wanted to help.
Let's leave it there because I want to just point out something about Riley Gaines, okay? She's in the spotlight. I'm sure she's doing okay. Gets a lot of views, things like that. It's okay. She's got stones bigger than most men in this country because she turned around, okay? And she said, I turned around, I was in the locker room, and Leah Thomas was standing there with his junk out. A full biological male. And you want to tell me that I'm supposed to be in the same room with that person? Because 5 minutes ago in human history, Leah Thompson gets arrested. Now the government's on his side and they want to arrest Riley Gaines. Jackie Lamb wants to put, in Australia, she wants to probably to put people like Riley Gaines in jail, let alone Joe and Joe for what we talk about, and certainly Elon Musk. This is the world we live in. That little girl in that clip, all right, thanking Riley Gaines because she reached out because her position in her sport is threatened by boys who are pretending to be girls, and they're winning unfairly, okay? And that's what it's all about. And when you bring this up, can you imagine the names that they call you? The names that they call Riley Gaines, by the way, when she testified in front of Congress. I forgot the name of that black female congressman. She made, let's bring on the hate fest. She said something like that. Hate fest. So you want me to, it's hateful for me to say a man can't be a woman and a woman can't be a man. And their answer to that, Joe Resinello, would be yes.
Joe, but the thing is hateful. People aren't for it, especially when it comes to kids.
But it's like what you just said. They don't look for our consent.
Joe, but that's what people have to figure out. Joe, I bang my head against the wall. People have to open their eyes. They don't represent you. They don't represent you. You have to get your power back. You want to have a real debate? We don't have real debates now because we don't have representation. I can go on and on. Did you sign up for the inflation on your food bill? No, you didn't. By the way, that is an indirect tax on the poor. That's an indirect tax. Oh, by the way, they just let in 7 million people who are going to lower the wages of the working poor in America because they're going to take your jobs.
Well, that's why if you're a blue collar person and you vote for this guy.
4 more years. Pause.
4 more years. 4 more years.
And I said it before.
What more do you have to do to point things out to people that Joe, they don't represent you?
I've said before, if any of these blue collar, Joe, I grew up with a lot of these guys. I grew up with a lot of guys my father's age. Okay, my father was a Teamster. I grew up with a lot of these blue collar Democrats who continue to this day, knowing in their heart of hearts, they don't agree with any of this crap. None of it. They keep voting for it. When they come and cry, all the
But Joe, but the thing is, it's not even about agreeing. It's about you're being pummeled. Like it's not even about an ideology anymore. You can't afford to pay your bills. And I got news for you. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. The next iteration of Joe Biden will be someone like Trudeau. It will be someone like Gavin Newsom. And he's going to bring exactly what has gone on in California right across the whole country. because again, he is there to sell something. He's a talking head. That's what Justin Trudeau is. He's a talking head for a greater ideology that doesn't represent the regular man.
Yeah.
Call yourself a Democrat, call yourself a Republican. And it's going to creep into the upper middle class until it will be like South America. You will have the very rich and everybody else. Why? Because then you are easily controlled.
Yep.
You will be easily controlled. And that's the name of the game. And people say, oh, you're a conspiracy theory. I got news for you. Joe Pasillo and I, and it's all on tape, predicted a lot of what's going on right now.
Because you know, and why?
Look it up.
Because our
Look
eyes
it
are open.
up.
Our eyes are open, and we have common
predicted
sense.
a lot of it. Not everything, a lot of it.
No, listen,
And
what's
I'm
going on
telling
with-
you,
what's going on
I'm
with
telling
abortion?
you how this is going to go. You, the regular man who calls himself a Democrat, call yourself a Republican. Look what they did to you on abortion. They don't represent you. Mike Johnson, oh, he's so conservative. He's not conservative. He's bought and sold. They're all bought and sold.
Right.
They don't represent you. People have to figure that out. People have to come together. People have to take the government back. Then we can have a debate and let the voice of the people win out. Let the conversation be in the public square.
That'll never happen.
Let the better, but we have to get the country back before that happens. You see, Donald Trump is not the answer. And I got news for you. This is not a political solution because there's a deep rot. There's a cancer in America. There's a cancer in the West. There's a cancer in Canada. And even if we got the greatest politician ever, they're not going to allow him or her because every institution of power is controlled by these people. They control the banks. They control Hollywood. They control the media. They control the schools. They control the publishing. They control everything.
Increasingly accept social media.
And that's why they have to control that. Because they're
By the way, YouTube, just so you know, YouTube has relaxed. I heard this. Don't know how true it is. It was from a trusted source. YouTube has relaxed some of their standards, their restrictions that they put on people because whether they want to admit it or not, Elon Musk is going to turn that company into a $500 billion company. So I'm talking about X, okay? And he's going to do it because he has a free speech platform and he probably knows how to monetize it properly. Hey, I pay $8 a month, all right? And we don't even have a real presence on X. My point is this. We've said before a million times, Joe, if they're never going to agree to debate, because if they agree to debate, okay, they're going to get trounced. Just like Gavin Newsom. I'll give Gavin Newsom credit because he went on Sean Hannity's show. Okay, not that that's the greatest thing, but he did go into his political opposition and he had a conversation with Sean Hannity, all right? Most people looking at Gavin Newsom know he's a salesman. Know that he's slick. Every answer was canned. That's about as good as you're going to get. That's about the best you're going to get from a guy like that. He was fully prepared, fully rehearsed, and then they'll go into, other than that, impromptu conversations. They're not going to have that. They will talk to us, let alone Elon Musk or Joe Rogan or people like that. They don't want to talk to people like that.
Joe Biden will not campaign. Joe Biden is not going to debate. Joe Biden cannot campaign. And Joe Biden cannot debate. And yet,
4 more years. Pause.
I couldn't
yet he will get tens of millions of votes.
Right.
Tens of millions of votes. There is a cancer in America. It's deep and it can't be solved politically. It cannot be solved politically.
Well, think of it this way: for all the Trumpers out there, and look, at the end of the day, I'm going to vote for Trump again for the same reason I voted for him the first time. Because Trump, regardless of his positions, if he stays firm and he nominates people to the bench that are like, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, I'll vote for him for that. But remember something: Donald Trump is pro-abortion. Donald Trump is pro-rainbow flag. Donald Trump has no problem with gay marriage. Donald Trump has no problem with any of that. So next time somebody tells me you gotta vote for Trump, it's like, I'm probably going to, because the alternative is not only insane, they're evil. Okay, but don't make it because Trump's my friend. Okay,
Well,
Trump will
it's
give me the
not even
judges I
about
want.
Trump. But what Trump can do is give a little bit of power back to people, and it's a start. What Trump can do is get people away from a green economic model, which will give you a little bit more money in your bank, which supports the regular man. That's what Trump can do. Donald Trump does not represent me as a Catholic. Donald Trump is not the answer. I'm going to tell you the answer, and I'm going to pull a little John the Baptist. America, Canada, we need to repent, because I got news for you. God will not bless nations that kill children in the third trimester. God is not going to bless a nation that mutilates a 15-year-old girl by lopping off her breasts. God does not bless a nation that legalizes usury and enslaves working people into debt that they can never pay. God does not bless a nation when they do things like that. We are on the wrong side of things. And that is how you fix the country. Donald Trump's not fixing the country. He buys us a little bit more power and a little bit more time. Ultimately, we have to repent. That's how you fix this country.
That would be the first step. Okay, that of course would be the first step in moving in the right direction. So yeah, we want to thank you. We gotta call it a night. Joe and I are both working men. We got to get up tomorrow and actually go to work and make a living, because we don't get paid for this. But you can help us out, and you can like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff wherever you're looking at us. Joe, I'm sorry, I got to play this one more time.
You've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
That is so fantastic. So fantastic, that clip. We want to thank you. Seriously. Now, don't go anywhere. We're going to leave you with a 2-minute clip we want you to watch before you leave, okay? Joe and I are going to play the clip, and then we're going to get out of here. But thank you so much for joining us. Again, Joe, we've grown again. Last week's across social media, we got near 10,000 views. Our audience is growing. Thank you, Stephen, for the compliment. We had over 200 in the chat room tonight. Hopefully, Joe, over the next 90 days, we'll be over 1,000 in the chat room, and we're getting 20, 30,000 views. But thank you for everybody for helping us out. And remember that until the next time, our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. Now, watch this clip, and then we'll see you next week, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
America. 25 ways the U.S. is being destroyed in under 2 minutes. 1. Open borders and illegal immigration. 2. Rampant crime and unsafe cities. 3. Mass addiction and fentanyl. 4. Election insecurity and interference. 5. The educational indoctrination of children. 6. The asymmetrical weaponization of justice. 7. The destruction of private property rights. 8. Inflation and debt. 9. The global depopulation agenda. 10. Record low fertility and plummeting birth rates. 11. Unaccountable federal bureaucracies. 12. Toxic food supply. 13. Vaccine and pandemic disinformation. 14. The trans-contagion and sterilization of children. 15. Overprescription of pharmaceuticals. 16. Destruction of the nuclear family and parental rights. 17. DEI and the new racism. 18. Moral and societal decay. 19. The financing of endless foreign wars. 20. The sprawling surveillance state. 21. The centralization and consolidation of government power. 22. The destruction of trust in institutions. 23. The censorship industrial complex. 24. State media propaganda. 25. The smearing of those who challenge it.